All right, everybody, welcome back to the Extra Innings Podcast. I am your host, Elijah Rodriguez, and we're back today with another episode. Today's Thursday. Doesn't feel like a Thursday. It feels like midweek. It's really strange. This is just a weird week. Back at it with these early episodes, man. Just how I like it. But got plenty to talk about today. I had plenty to talk about yesterday, but I think we got some goodies for today. Obviously, we're going to be talking about Gerrit Cole and the Orioles-Yankees series. That's a big That's a big topic. We'll talk about the Mets a little bit. And then a couple other things that I think are a little bit interesting, but we're going to get into it. So yesterday, the Yankees dropped the second game of the series against the Orioles. They won on Tuesday night. Last night in Gerrit Cole's return, dropped it. The bullpen dropped it. It wasn't on Cole. Cole performed well. So Gerrit Cole went 4 innings, went out for the fifth, but didn't get the out. I think he was pushing for that extra inning. We'll talk about that in a second. So he went 4 innings, gave up 3 hits, 2 runs, 2 earned runs through 62 pitches. Obviously, easing him back into this. They're not just going to bust him into 100 or anything. Had 5 strikeouts. So not bad. 4.50 ERA. Obviously, that's going to change. We're not going to even talk about ERA right now. It's 1 outing. But impressed. I was impressed. He looked good. He looked good just like I thought he was going to look from looking at his minor league games and looking at those videos. He looked good. He looked comfortable. He looked strong. I think aside from that, I think he gave up a run in the third, but then in the first inning he gave up that a couple hits, which I think was the issue there. But was nails kind of after that. Actually I think it might have all come in the first, if I'm not mistaken. Let me Now I'm curious. Now you've got me curious. Now I got to check the box because now I'm like, hold on, because I was watching the highlights. I didn't get to watch the game because I couldn't get the game, which pissed me off. Really upset me actually. So I missed it. I was kind of looking again through like I did the night before, looking at stats where I could. No, okay. So he only gave up the one. Yeah, so he gave up the one in the first on the double that scored the run. And then in the fifth, he didn't give up any. I don't know why I thought the third. So he gives up one in the first, nails through, goes into ends the third. Ends the fourth, goes into the dugout. Boone's like, "Hey, you're done." He's like, "No, give me one more." Goes out. First batter gets a hit, and Boone's like, "Yeah, you're done. We're taking you out." That guy scored, which equals the second earned run. But the Yankees bullpen has just been a little bit shaky lately. A little bit shaky. That's kind of been one of the things. Obviously, still a few issues regarding the base paths and some catching woes that I think need to be cleaned up a little bit. But I don't think that's really low on the radar. I don't think that's the reason why they're losing ball games. I think the bullpen has a much bigger impact, and them not being able to come in and close the door or kind of get them to that ninth inning to give it to Holmes is tough. It's tough, and it's hard to really negate that. But overall, Cole performed well. I'm excited to see what he does. We'll see him in 5 days. Hopefully, I'm assuming they're gonna slowly but surely kind of just give him more and more rope. 62 pitches is pretty short, considering he threw 70. Well, I guess when you really think about it, if he threw 70 the last outing he did in AAA, 62 pitches ending the fourth was kind of like, yeah, I mean, you're right there. Like, you might as well be done. What are you going to end an inning in 8 pitches? Like, what are the odds, right? So I get it. I get calling it at 62 pitches. But in other news, in the same game, so later in the game, Henderson got rocked in the back up and in. People were a little bit split. I'm planning on talking about this a little bit on socials here in a little bit. But, yeah, people were pretty at least Orioles fans were upset. Even the broadcasters were like, shame on them for, throwing at Henderson. I don't. The thing is, it's like everyone's upset. Everyone's cool, and it's like, oh, like their player doesn't get hit, their player doesn't get hurt. But like, hold on, let me see. Well, who was the guy that threw at him? Hold on. Where is he? Instagram. I like going on Twitter, but Instagram is just faster. Let's just call it what it is. Instagram is so much faster. I guess they're not going to show it. They're not going to even show that he hit the guy. Why not? Why are we not showing it? I literally just saw it. Why did we take it down? Ridiculous. I can't. Where does that go? Anyway, one of the pitchers, I can't remember his name, and apparently the clip's just gone completely. Hits Gunnar Henderson late in the game. I think it was like the 6th or the 7th. No warnings were given, which I think was a little bit. People are saying that benches should have been at least warned. Orioles fans specifically saying that. I don't. I mean, he was hit once. It's not like the Yankees were throwing up and in all game. Gerrit Cole didn't go in there with doing that. He went his 4. Didn't hit anybody. Didn't force any chin music. Nothing like that. So hit one guy and then we move on. I think was the right move to say benches need to be warned. I think that's a little bit much. I think Orioles fans are a little butthurt that Henderson got hurt. Like, and here's the thing: not only did they hit Judge yesterday and he had to leave the game, that happened. We're worried that his hand was broken. Everything came back negative. So lucky, but it could have gone the complete opposite direction. Hand broken 6 to 8 weeks. Could have had another Mookie situation on our hands, but we got lucky. He also hit Gleyber Torres in the hand. So the guy last night was a fucking menace, and I think that was the problem. So obviously when you hit someone with notoriety and status like Judge, best player on the team, kind of leading this pack right now, and you hit him up and in the hand, like not just you didn't plunk him in the back, you didn't hit him in the ass, you didn't hit him in the hip or the ribs, whatever. You drilled him in the hand, which is up and in, meaning he went like this. So that's up and in. That's a little dangerous. So I can see the retaliation. And that's an unwritten rule to say, like, oh, shame on them. They shouldn't have thrown at him. Like, this has been baseball forever, So I don't quite know why you're shocked that we hit your guy after you drilled 2 of ours, one of them being Aaron Judge. Come on. And then obviously we're going to come at your best player. The up and in, I'm not totally cool with. I think you should have just drilled him. Just put it between his numbers or something like that. That would have been a little bit better. But up and in, I think it wasn't even really up and in. It was still in the back, but it hit him like kind of towards the top of the back. We could start nitpicking at this whole thing, but in all honesty, I think hitting them hitting him wherever he hit him was fine. It was fine. It sent the message. It let him know, hey, you hit our guy, we're going to hit your guy. They weren't going to let Cole do it, obviously, but they're going to let these other guys do it. So it happens. I get it. But in other news, we'll move on from the Yankees, and hopefully the Yankees can finish tonight strong. They get the last game of the series tonight against Baltimore, so we will see how that goes. In other news, so the Mets, we're going to talk about the Mets. The Mets have finally lost a game in the Grimace era. I talked about it a couple days ago. They went they really went 7-0. They went 7-0 after Grimace threw out the first pitch. I told them they should have put Grimace on the 40. They should have did something mojo-y, something that would just kind of infuse Grimace somewhere in that lineup, in that clubhouse, because I think he was a secret weapon. No one listens to me apparently. And look at the Mets lost. The Mets lost their first game in 8 games. Yeah, so it happens. I mean, it's still a turning point, and it's still a positive note for the Mets and Mets fans. Hey, you guys have something cooking. Obviously, winning more than 5 games in the big leagues is a feat. That's kind of like, whoa, like these guys are hot. They're rolling on something. So 7 was a feat, man. That's pretty legit. That's I dig it. I dig it, man. That's a huge improvement for where they've been. A different look for them after, like, it looked like it was just absolute misery all year. So at least so far this year in Queens and at Citi Field. So positive move for the Mets. I think that's a good look. So let's see if they can keep it rolling. Obviously, I wouldn't focus much on this loss. If you're a Mets fan, they lose one, big fucking deal. They'll come back and do it again. They'll come back and win. Like I said, this is something I try to tell people. You play 162 games a year. Obviously, losses suck. You're not trying to just be like, oh, well, we lose X amount of games a year. No, but they're going to happen. It's going to happen. They're going to come. Like, no matter how good you are, no matter how good your team is, no matter what, you're going to just drop some. No one's going to go undefeated 162 games. And not even if anything showed you more than that, the Dodgers, who have this massive roster and have spent all this money, are still losing ball games. So it happens to the best. So Mets fans, do not worry. Everything's going to be fine. Hot streak ends, but you could just start another one today. So cool. The Mets are kind of turning things around. But hopefully they can get Grimace back out there because they need another winning streak. That was just badass. Okay, so I've only got a couple topics today, so bear with me here. Okay, I wanted to bring this up. Okay, so once again, Mason Miller. Hold on, let me pull this up. Let me see something real quick. Let me see. Okay. All right. Okay, so I know I was going to talk about power rankings. I'm going through my my tabs up here so I can make sure I got the right topic up. But we'll talk about power rankings. That was the first one that popped up and kind of just went to my head. But so talking about Mason Miller once again. Okay, so he kind of went. So I know a couple weeks ago I talked about them talking about how Mason Miller is going to get moved at some point before the trade deadline. And we talked about that a little bit. The thing with that was that apparently the asking price was so high that no one had made an official bid. No one's actually been like, okay, like we'll think about it. Everyone's kind of laughed and just walked the other direction on this. And I kind of didn't do the math to kind of understand why that was. But apparently, well, not apparently, I mean, this is pretty normal. Miller is under club control for the next X amount of time. So the Athletics know that, obviously, and they know what kind of value that they have on that end. So they can do, quite frankly, whatever they want with him. And they can make that price as high or as low, or they can move him when or whenever they feel like it. So that kind of hurts Miller a little bit in the sense that if he wants to get the fuck out of Oakland, he's pretty much at their mercy. Which to be at Oakland's mercy is kind of shitty. But nonetheless, the dude will eventually get paid because the A's want to get paid. So whether it's at this deadline or next deadline, meaning next year, it'll be interesting to see. But the thing is like, okay, we know Mason Miller's great. We know he's electric. He has a fastball that I think right here it's in the 100th percentile in 6 different StatCast categories, including his fastball that averages a 100.9 mile an hour. He owns it in chase percentage, whiff percentage, and strikeout percentage. Obviously, due with an average fastball of 100.9, it's outrageous. But the thing that a lot of people are talking about, because it looks like there was a couple different interviews with potential people who are wanting to buy Mason Miller, some owners. Everyone is saying he's the most electric, but relievers are volatile. Like there's multiple people that have said that relievers are volatile. They can get hurt on a whim, and then you're kind of screwed out of that, especially. And the thing with Mason Miller, and this is kind of all encompassing this whole thing with Tommy John and how many we've had this year because of the rise in velo, and people just trying to throw so fucking hard that they don't care where it goes. They don't care the repercussions. They're like, I got to throw 100 miles an hour. I got to get paid. Let me blow this shit out. Basically, is kind of the idea that I'm getting around the game, because everyone's trying to throw 100 these days. You got college kids, you got high school kids. Everyone is obsessed with velo. Some guys got it, some guys have to force it and then end up injured. So you have to kind of take that into consideration. And a lot of these owners, when it comes to going after Mason Miller, are not new to that subject. Obviously, they're like, okay, he throws 100. He's good and all. He's electric. He throws 100. How long is this going to last? And I think is what a lot of people are saying. Like, how long is this going to last before he's like, yeah, my elbow is fucked and I can't throw anymore. I need Tommy John, and then we're going to come back. But you miss a year. So a lot of owners are like, okay, and he's got an injury history apparently. So a lot of people have brought that up as well. So not only is he extremely high energy and high twitch and I'm sorry, fast twitch, and is throwing 100 miles an hour consistently every fastball he chunks. He's got an injury history. The A's are playing hard to get. So there's a lot going against a Mason Miller trade at this point. I think earlier in the year, it was kind of like they're going to trade him no matter what. Like the A's want to get paid. It would be probably the biggest trade of the year, aside from the Luis Ariz one that went earlier this year. We haven't seen many other trades besides, Toronto dropping Kevin Biggio and Biggio going to the Dodgers. Been a couple minuscule things here and there. I think one of the guys that I knew out of the University of Houston that went to San Diego now is in Houston with the Astros was another movement, but not anything crazy to move the needle to be like, oh my God, this is the biggest trade of the year. No. So nothing like that as of yet. Obviously, we're about 2 to 3 weeks away. I mean, I really think 2 weeks, and my dates are all fucked up. I think we're about 2 weeks away from the trade deadline. Let me figure out when that is. I know, because I know it's like right when the All-Star game is. Hold on. MLB trade deadline. That is. Okay, so we got about a month. Why am I talking? Oh, we're good. It's on July 30th. I don't know why I thought it was at the draft or the All-Star game, but we're at till July 30th to make these trades. We got about a month. I've been talking out my ass. We got about a month left, so still some time. I am certain that there are deals being worked out as we speak. There's some big players, some big movements, so it's going to be exciting. But honestly, Mason Miller moving at this point doesn't seem likely. I don't think that he leaves, especially with how much they're asking, and the A's trying to leverage everything that they possibly can on this guy. And, guys are looking for, the thing is like guys need spot guys here and there. They need closers. Like the Orioles, I thought would make a sure run for it, but they haven't even been talked about at this point. So we're going to see. We're going to see. So moving away to my last topic of conversation today, I'm kind of moving away from Mason Miller. Short day today, obviously, not a whole lot happening. The Astros. So the Astros once again are on my topic of discussion today. I don't think we ever talked about Jose Abreu, and I think we may have brought him up here and there that they released him. But once again, people are talking, what's the deal? Actually seen a lot of people asking if the Astros are going to re-sign Jose Abreu. If you're not educated and you're a fan of the Astros and you don't know baseball, Jose Abreu is not coming back. He's not coming back. I think the only likely place that we're going to see him go, if anywhere, because honestly, $124. He's 36 or 38 years old. I can't remember the number I saw. It's hard to sell that, to anybody. It's hard for a team to take a chance on that, especially with his big league, with how much he's been in the big league. So it's kind of like the guys, like I use the term washed a lot. I think kind of facetiously, if that's a word, kind of just like fucking around. Oh, it's washed. But this is the definition of washed. Like that's what this feels like. And I say that because he's been in the big leagues for years now, guys. It's not like he just got there, right? So he's been in the big leagues for some time, which kind of takes away a lot of options for him because he has that tenure. He's been there for that long, takes away a lot of minor league options. So that's why he didn't get sent down to the minors. He went down to the developmental league. If you remember, he went to the developmental league. He didn't go to a minor league team because he doesn't have that option, right? So unless he's coming up from a rehab. So they sent him to developmentals. Then he came back to the big leagues and just still didn't have it. It just still didn't have it. And he batted $124, but at either in whether you're 35, if he's 38 or 36, it doesn't matter because if you're 35 plus, you're seen as old in this game, which is crazy, but you're seen as old because you got dudes 18 playing this shit. So he's 35 plus, batting $124, been in the league for a long time, has very little to few options. So anyone that would take him would have to immediately promote him to a big league roster. That is tough. I don't see any team really doing that. They're going to say, okay, Jose Abreu, let's look at your stuff. Okay, you're 38 years old. Let's say worst case scenario, you're 38 years old. You batted $124. You had, double digit hits. Maybe I think, and 2 home runs. Now your defense is okay. You're not a stellar defensive player. What do we do with you? And basically the answer is, yeah, we're going to pass. Unfortunately, man, I'm sorry. Like we can't make that happen. And that's what a lot of teams are probably already doing. It's been about a week and a half since they've released him. And we've had no news, nothing new about him going anywhere. You have a lot of White Sox fans that are like, come back and just retire retire a White Sox because you had great tenure here, blah, blah. So I see that happening more than anything, probably a one-day contract to retire him. But other than that, I don't see Jose Abreu coming back to playing baseball anytime soon. But but with that conversation being had and the Astros needing somebody to play first, this is when the talks come in. And obviously, they've got quite a few pieces that are on the trading block or an imaginary trading block, or at least on a lot of analysts' trading block, though the Astros have said they're not sure they're willing to sell or trade anybody because this team is too good. They said that earlier this year. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do. Obviously, there's guys like Kyle Tucker who's still trying to come back from blowing his shin off the other night, about 2 weeks ago, which they thought, it's not a big deal, shin contusion, but he still hasn't come back in. So that's kind of concerning. I don't know why they haven't traded fucking McCullers yet. Like, get rid of that guy. Like, I mean, shit. Get rid of him. Still riddled with injuries. Or obviously, Urquidy's on the IL with he had Tommy John. Is it Luis Garcia, the rocking guy? He's still coming back from Tommy John, so they missed him as well. The 2 big pieces are going to be Tucker and Tucker and Bregman. I don't know why I blanked on that. Bregman. Do I think they trade Bregman? We talked about this before. I don't know. I think they're going to go after a first baseman. I think they keep Bregman and get rid of somebody else. Maybe put some pieces together, do some prospects to get somebody because they're 34 and 40. much better than where they started. 34-40 is not horrible. They're only about a couple games back from 500, so not awful. They can still make that time up, still make it to the wild card. And this is the thing that I don't always agree with Ben Verlander. I'm a fan of his podcast, but there is one thing I will say that I agree is that you can never count out the Astros, especially with the run that they've had these last 8 years of just consistent playoff baseball, consistently playing strong baseball. You can't really disagree with that. They may be off, but still as off as they've been, 34-40 is not horrible. And they're still showing more and more signs of life and more reasons why you shouldn't count them out. So keep them in your back pocket, the Astros. I'll tell you what. But the biggest thing I saw with the whole thing with Jose Abreu was that the Astros may be going after or maybe eyeing a trade with the Cardinals. Now, the Cardinals are another team that's been struggling. Nolan Arenado went down yesterday, got hit in the forearm. Really, he got double whammy. It looked like it hit him in the forearm and then just hit him right in the nuts. So that looked like just a bad situation all the way around. But at the same time, the Astros are looking to do something, and the Cardinals are in a weird position because they're on this verge of they've got a lot of veterans. Paul Goldschmidt, they just got Brandon Crawford, they've got Nolan Arenado, so they've got the older part of the team, but then they've also got this mix of young youth with Mason Wynn and a couple other guys. So it's it's tough. It's tough to see what the Cardinals are really trying to do here, because they could go the route where they're like, you know what, we're going to just ride what we got, because it hasn't been really pretty for them lately. I think they're getting some things going now, but earlier this year it wasn't great. A lot of people were like, what the fuck is going on with the Cardinals type deal? And that's warranted, because they do have some star talent, some star power on there, which is kind of crazy. But the whole thing was that the Astros were going to make a deal for Paul Goldschmidt. Goldschmidt's also another guy that's pretty much an equal to Jose Abreu, which is why I don't see kind of any bright side. It's you you dropped this guy to get rid of the old guy who's kind of having a mediocre to lower part of his season based on his career numbers. Paul Goldschmidt hasn't been doing much at all. I mean, he's been kind of hit or miss, been going through on the struggle bus as well in certain situations. So do I think that the Astros are going to drop Jose Abreu to go after another guy who's about the same age and having kind of the same issue? I mean, if you wanted to get Jose Abreu to play like the Jose Abreu you had last year, I guess Goldschmidt could fall into that role, but is that really the smart thing you want to do? And I mean, it makes sense if the Astros are willing to give prospects for this guy, or the Astros are willing to give one piece and maybe a couple prospects for Goldschmidt. It would make sense for the Cardinals to get rid of him, dump him, because he's obviously on his way out of the league. He's a little bit older, been struggling. What more power do you need to get him off the roster and somewhere else? The Cardinals don't really need much. It's really the Astros and what the goal is and what they're planning on doing. And I don't think that's a smart trade. I'm seeing it everywhere at this point, and I'm hoping that the Astros, for the sake of just the ball club, make a better choice there, but we will see. Anyway, guys, thanks for listening. That's all I got for today. A short episode, nothing too crazy. Be sure to follow us on socials. We got lots of videos. I'm going to have some more today. Again, having trouble with my system getting these breakdowns. I'm going to try to get some. Obviously, not a whole lot happening either, really, to help me do that. So let's hope there's a brawl or something crazy. No, I'm just kidding. We don't want any of that. But we will have a lot more YouTube type content right now. We're just kind of doing the shorts and doing the podcast. So just be on the lookout. We'll have some more coming up, I promise. But be sure to follow us on TikTok, follow us on Instagram, Twitter, everything. I've got all kinds of content on there. And then also, if you're on YouTube, I don't know what they ask you to do these days. Follow, subscribe, do it all, man. Follow us. We love doing this. I love doing this. This is a great time talking baseball with you guys and conversing with you guys in the comments. So be sure to follow and like so it lets you know when our next videos are up. Obviously, we're doing them every day, Monday through Friday, so you kind of know that schedule. But when it comes to the shorts and videos, those are kind of all over the place. So be sure to follow and subscribe. It's worth it, I promise. But thanks for listening, guys, and we will catch you guys tomorrow.